Good evening, everyone. Very happy to see you again, even though I can't see you. Tonight, we have a marvelous film that I'm so happy to introduce you to, if that's the case. We are going to look at Kurosawa's Rashomon. I can't tell you what a huge effect that Rashomon has had on film. You'll recognize that it has some from the films that you've seen, but it's interesting because it has an interesting story. It turns out that Kurosawa was given a set of stories that basically were too short to make a film. When the writer tried to combine the two stories, he didn't do it very well. So Kurosawa took everything into his own hands. He wrote out the film. They filmed it. It was supposed to be a very inexpensive production, but because of the sort of palace that it starts in, the wooden structure that it starts in, that cost all the money for the film. So when the film was finished, it opened and it was not very popular because nobody could make any sense of it. And so it played, but then it sort of went out of movie theaters. And there was an Italian that had seen the film that insisted that the film studio enter it in the Venice Film Festival. Now, no Japanese film had ever even been seen in film festivals. And so they entered Rashomon, and, well, lo and behold, it won the international prize. This meant that the entire Japanese film industry was put on the international map. And so many of the great Japanese directors who had not had any exposure whatsoever were encouraged to present their films for the West. That was the first huge impact. It went on to win the first Academy Award that had been awarded to Japanese film in foreign film. So that's one of its sort of singular, effects that it had on the film industry. It had many others. Kurosawa really loved American movies. He was almost raised on them. He loved John Ford. He loved the movies of the 30s. He loved the westerns of the 40s. But it is really hard to believe that he did not see Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane made a big effect because it's about four different people's version of the same person. And so each of them have a different take on him, and as you go through the film, you begin to see that a very different person emerges than his public image. So that was very innovative and, has left an incredible effect on film. But Rashomon took another direction. And so it's about the literally kind of the unreliable narrator. And you're watching a film that is in the head of somebody that's telling you what happened. But there is a reality in the world that a lot of people really can't remember exactly what has happened. We know this from all sorts of police procedures in which people can't even remember something that has happened even an hour ago. They can't tell you what color of clothes somebody had on. They can't tell you what the color of a car is. So, so being reliable as a witness has a very iffy kind of place in the world. And this film accents how difficult it is for somebody to remember what has happened. It's not like people are lying in the film, because they're all claiming that they are the killer in this mystery. But it doesn't figure. There's something wrong with all of their narratives. So this type of film has given birth to any number of films that basically, we have some films that maybe some of you've seen, The Usual Suspects, maybe Memento. It has this, it kind of went like, it pollinated through filmmaking. And so we see so many films that have a reflection of Rashomon now. As far as the film itself, as you go into it, it's very easy to watch because it is absolutely entertaining and engrossing. But there's some other innovations that it uses that influenced of all people the French New Wave. It is the first film, you see, one of the things that was a no-no is you were never supposed to show direct sunlight. And yet this film makes marvel of direct sunlight. They had to actually have certain kinds of lenses to be able to pick up the sun because all the lenses were made to get rid of direct sunlight. So that's one innovation, but it's also handheld for a lot of the time, and this is of course taken up by the French New Wave. So there is so much innovation when this film was done, and that probably is why it wasn't very successful in Japan, because people had a hard time understanding the logic of this unreliable narration. You're going to have a lot of fun, I think, during this film, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. See you later. Did that drone on too much?